This is The Goode Show. My name's Surinder and I'm a military spouse. I've been a military spouse for over 26 years and my guy served 30 years as a Navy SEAL and retired as a Command Master Chief. Now, I've heard a few stories and I've told a few stories and now I am sharing stories. Sit back, relax, grab a beer, grab a coffee and enjoy. Check us out on social media at The Goode Show. Welcome to this week's episode. My name's Surinder. I am your host, and this is The Goode Show. Now, I'm really excited for a couple of reasons on this particular episode. First of all, finally, I have got the one and only Renee Krieg to sit down with me and do a podcast. How are you?
I'm great, Surinder. Thank you for having me. It is not a lovely day in San Diego, but I'm still very happy to be here.
Well, listen, hey, girlfriend, because of you, we are sitting in the presidential suite of the Omni Resort, no less, recording this podcast.
It's pretty sweet.
No, what are you doing? What are you doing here? There's an event going on, isn't there?
Yes. So I am here for the Major League Baseball Soft Goods Retail Summit. Okay. So this is an event that is put on annually by Major League Baseball. And it is for this particular event is for apparel licensees. So I'm a licensee, been a licensee for 14 years now with Major League Baseball. And we manufacture small cut and sew accessories. So essentially headbands is our primary item with Major League Baseball. And then we have some new items that are like a cooling scarf. This is one of our fashion ones, but I have Major League Baseball too. So that's what we're here for.
Now, you obviously, before you became an entrepreneur, you're a military veteran.
I am.
And you were in the Army.
Yes.
Now, I know everybody says this. I'm going to say to you, thank you for your service. Tell me, Renee, when people say that to you, how do you receive that? Because I get, different responses from veterans,
Sure.
Do you appreciate people saying that, or?
I receive it when people say it. I think, when I first got out of the military, it was uncomfortable. But now I've just learned to graciously accept that. I think people say that because they genuinely appreciate the service and the sacrifice that we did. And when someone gives you a compliment, it's a gift that they're giving. And I think it's rude to reject it. So I usually say thank you, I appreciate that, or it was an honor, because it was. I didn't necessarily love my whole time on active duty. Shocking, most people don't. But I absolutely had a wonderful adventure throughout the whole thing. And I know that, when I look back on it, it was a sacrifice and it was an honor to serve. So I receive that when people...
It's a very nice perspective you have there, that you receive it as a gift.
Yes.
Because I've spoken to service members, and I think sometimes, depending on how it's even said, because I think sometimes it tends to roll off the tongue, maybe.
Sure.
But let's go back to your service. You were in the Army.
Yes.
Why did you pick the Army over the other branches?
They gave me more money.
Hey, listen.
I was young, and it's funny. I actually graduated from college in 2000, and one of my older sister's friends said, "So what's your 5-year plan?" And I looked at him and I said, "What's a 5-year plan?"
Oh my gosh.
I had no idea what I was going to do when I graduated from college, but I did know that I had $30,000 of student loan debt. And he was just finishing 4 years in the Marine Corps, and he said, "You should look at the military." And I had considered that in high school, but where I went to college, they did not have an ROTC program. So that was out. But when I looked at it that second time, I actually applied for the Air Force as an officer, and I applied in the first 2 boards of the new fiscal year in 2000. So it was like October and November of 2000. And they only took pilots and navigators in those boards. And I did not qualify for that. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I looked at the Army, and at that time, I chose to go enlisted in the Army because
Okay.
they paid back all $30,000 of my student loans.
Okay.
I was locked into an intelligence position, and I knew that I was going to go to the Defense Language Institute.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
I chose that route versus OCS because I didn't want to be needs of the Army. I wanted to know that I would be in intelligence, get a clearance, and pay back my student loans. And at the 3-year point, I could have chosen to go to OCS at that point, and my loans would have been paid. But I didn't. So that was my path. I joined the Army, enlisted, and paid back my student loans, did all those things. Went to DLI, went to, got a clearance and worked as an intelligence analyst, and luckily got stationed in Hawaii for 3 years. And all of this is post 9/11. Like I joined right before 9/11 in April of 2001, and so the world just really turned upside down on 9/11, and everything changed. I was at DLI on 9/11, and yeah, but it's been quite the adventure. I'm really grateful for the pathway that I chose, even though once I was in, it was difficult knowing I could have been an officer and I was enlisted, but it worked out.
Now, let's talk about your separation from the military. How was that for you? Because again, I speak to a lot of people, and obviously I've gone through the transition as a spouse. Most people will say it's information through a fire hose, that we're getting a lot. Obviously, you can't process it all.
Not for me.
Experience.
No, it's really interesting. So I got off active duty in 2006, and it was summer of 2006. I knew that I was going to go to fashion school to learn cut and sew apparel manufacturing. I knew that I wanted to start an apparel
But
brand.
did you have any idea it was going to be a headband, or did you just know it was going to be apparel?
I knew it was going to be apparel. It didn't. It definitely did not start with headbands. That was fast forward another year. But when I got off active duty, I was in Hawaii. And I had applied to go to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles. So that happened. I moved to LA, and I did that 1-year apparel manufacturing program with them, so I could get the basics of foundation of owning and starting an apparel business. And I was in school. So at this point, it was 2006, I was 28. And I had already graduated from a 4-year college, had already served in the military, active duty for a little over 5 years. And I moved to LA and was in fashion school with a bunch of 19-year-old girls who were very excited about what they were doing. And I was in my transitionary mode, having been a staff sergeant. I also was still in the reserves. So I actually came down to Pendleton and drilled out of Pendleton for that year that I was in the reserves. So my transition was really kind of fascinating because, like most people who come off active duty, we're used to that rigidity.
Yes.
And I just wanted to choke people all the time because people, they didn't move fast enough. They didn't step forward in line. And I mean, having been a staff sergeant, can we swear?
Yeah.
I'm that shit that I would just normally be hey, be aware of your surroundings, move forward. It didn't comprehend to me people who didn't have their head on a swivel. And I also realized that was some trauma from me too. And, growing up in this world as a woman and just being really aware of my surroundings. And so, anyway, at fashion school, I loved the enthusiasm that these girls had, and I also was just I felt like they had no idea what the real world was like. And also there was beauty in that because
there's some ignorance in it.
Yeah, because they didn't know all the shit that I had been through over the last 5 years, and that was good. That's healthy. That's innocence. And so I think my transition out of the military, they did not pile us up with information when we were getting off active duty in 2006. It is not like it is now, where they really educate you and set you up for success. And so I've heard, but it was not like that. It was oh, you're getting out, see you later.
There you go.
And so for me, that transition was, I knew what I was doing. I went back to school, and I was drilling at Pendleton on the weekend and going to school at fashion school during the week. So those were so polar opposite that I think that helped me come back to a more balanced center much more quickly than a lot of people who are getting off active duty. So I think within a year, I felt very comfortable being a civilian and starting my business.
Now, let me ask you something, because I've spoken to both males and female service members, and I think some things are inherent. It is what it is, you know.
Sure.
I found that the female service members that I have spoken to are a little bit more open to, okay, well, things are a little different in the civilian world, all right? So we got to go with the flow a little bit more. Whereas guys, I mean, my husband included, I completely understand where you're saying, you know, as a staff sergeant, you know, in the grocery line, maybe the person's not stepping forward. Because my husband retiring as a CMC, he's kind of like, what's wrong with these people?
Exactly.
And I'm like, baby, this is the way the world operates. But again, you know, you guys are not used to that. But do you think it's a fair statement to say that I think women are a bit more open to the change of flexibility?
I mean, I can't speak for all women, but I think so. I think women are very adaptable. I mean, there's so many things that women juggle, you know, life, motherhood, work. It's just, we're very adaptable. So I'm going to say, yes, we probably are a little bit better at that transition. Okay. Also, we may not have been in quite as rigid of a role in the military, and I think maybe that's
a good point
to do with it as well.
Okay, I didn't think of that. That's a really good point. So, okay, you've left the military now and you're embarking on your entrepreneur journey.
Yes.
Is this where you start on it, or do you think when you look back, Renee, that really you started on your entrepreneur journey mentally a long time ago?
I definitely started a long time ago.
Okay.
I knew that I was wired to be an entrepreneur. My father was an entrepreneur, and so I just was very used to, like, as a kid, going to his shop and helping him out, and you know, watching him not have like a traditional career. I think that was pretty normal to me. And it's interesting. I have two older sisters who wanted nothing to do with being an entrepreneur because they saw like how, you know, I would say unstable and stressed and working all the time my dad was, but yet he still did it on his terms, where I looked at that and I know, you know, my brain is absolutely wired to be an entrepreneur. I'm a visionary and I'm creative, and I've been able to, you know, to see something that doesn't exist, see it in my mind and bring it forth into the physical world, and, you know, structure a company around that. So being creative and doing the business side, I feel really fortunate that somehow, some way I've been able to make it work.
Now, you just touched on something. Again, it was a conversation I had with somebody the other day about entrepreneurs. Are entrepreneurs made, or are you born an entrepreneur? And I mean, I'm listening to you. Obviously, your father owned a business, so to you, that's kind of like normal, like you said.
Right.
You know, my family ultimately ended up owning a business, so to me, that was kind of like normal as well. So, do you think you're made, or are you born that way?
I think we're born that way.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, I think there are people that are predisposed to being an entrepreneur and having those traits that it takes to make it work. And even the people who are like born for it still have to work at it, because it is one thing to have an idea and be creative and want to create this thing. It's another thing to actually sell it and build a business around it, and, you know, be the leader of a team and you know, build a team and build systems and processes, and those are things that I've had to work at. There's certain things that I'm really good at. I'm absolutely wired to take risk. I'm a very high risk taker. So for me, I'm willing to go all in and make those sacrifices so that I can build something that's sustainable around me and build that team. And it took me a long time to build a team, you know, which is dumb because I was in the military, and you would think like nothing, you know, you go so much farther when you're working together. And it took me a long time to embrace that, not because I didn't want help, but because I couldn't figure out how to make it work financially.
That's a biggie.
and I'm not strong at systems. I need the people in the organization who are really great at creating system and process. Like I did it all in my head. I figured out how to like make product and do art and put it into production and what are the pattern sizes. And like I figured all that out. But I didn't have a process written down that somebody else could walk in and replicate that. And so it took me a long time to build a team that knew how to build those processes, get those ideas and things out of my head and put them on paper so that we can build that out.
I think a lot of businesses, myself included, get to that point and feel a little overwhelmed because it is in your head, but you do need to expand. I want to talk about those processes and your team building. Talk to us about how, first of all, you started to put those processes into place, because your business evolved, from the headbands, now you do other apparel as well. So tell us how your business evolved and how you managed to keep up with those changes. I mean, you've got to be pivoting left, right, and center here.
Right. I think that's one of the bonuses of being a small business and also being a visionary. So one of my strengths, if you've ever done Clifton Strengths Finder, my number one strength is futuristic. And number two is responsibility. Okay. And so I think that is, I'm hardwired that way. I think I see trends. I can see the next thing around the corner. And that's part of what allows me to take more risk, is that I feel pretty confident in the observation of the world of like where trends are going. And, there's all these tariffs and I'm pivoting already on those things right now in this current environment. But when I started the business in 2008, it was tall-sized athletic apparel, hence the name Vertical Athletics. And, fast forward a year and I started making headbands, and my sister Bonnie was the one who started sewing all the headbands for me. Oh, wow. And so we actually called them Bonnie bands for a long time. And between my mom and my sister, they've sewn over 100,000 headbands for the company.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Which is pretty great. And at the time, I was actually living in a motorhome, traveling around the country and doing pop-up shops at volleyball tournaments to sell the clothes to tall girls. And then the headbands actually took off. So I created a velvet-lined headband that had an adjustable strap on the back. So I have a big head, just like I have long legs. I'm tall. I couldn't find pants that were long enough to fit me, so I made pants that were like long enough to fit me. And I also made a headband that was adjustable to fit my big head.
Oh, wow.
So that's like how the headband thing happened. And we were at volleyball tournaments and we decided to put sequins on the headbands, and it just absolutely blew up. It was amazing.
Isn't that crazy that nobody had headbands
that were adjustable?
Yes.
Right. I know, it was bizarre, especially in the athletic space. And I don't know if you've played volleyball, but when you're playing volleyball, you're looking up constantly at the ball. And so every other headband is gonna start sliding up the back of your head if it's not sticking right. Well, the velvet on the inside of the headband made it stick. This part wasn't stretchy, but it was soft. And the back was a bra strap. So when I was putting my bra on one day, I realized, ding, 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 put an adjustable strap on the back of the headband. Now you have a headband that fits a little kid all the way up to large adult heads. One size fits all is amazing for manufacturing. You don't want to have to deal with like a size run or something like that. So that is really, the headbands took over. By 2012, I stopped making apparel. And in 2012, I had the opportunity to get a Major League Baseball license for our women's headbands. And so we were really little, but there wasn't something like that in the market. So MLB gave us a shot.
Oh, nice.
And, and then kind of
snowballed.
Exactly, pivot. 2016, I had the opportunity to start using this cooling textile. So the cooling fabric on the headbands, now we were making like a wide sweatband.
Yes.
And overnight, our business changed from all women to 50% men.
Now, did that have anything to do with, and I'm going to have to look at my notes, Bryce Harper wearing a headband?
Right. So that happened in 2019. So at this point, we are working with the stadium stores and selling the headbands, both our original women's headband and now the new cooling headband. And one of my sales reps at the time said, hey, we should do a zoomed in eyeball of the Fanatic. And the Fanatic is the mascot for the Phillies. It's pretty much the most popular mascot in baseball, and is absolutely loved by the Philly fan base. And when Harper came to the Phillies, he had a special relationship with the Fanatic and wore some cleats that had the eyeballs come up. So that's such a fun story. So we made this headband. I'm like in the factory in Southern California, made it on, designed it in Illustrator, had a sample made, did a selfie, sent it to the buyer. He was like, those are really cool. So he bought some, and then a month later we delivered, and Harper got some, decided to wear it.
Wow. And
it, like, the rest is history. He was rounding first base, and his helmet flew off, and he hit second base for a game-tying double, and his helmet was off, and his hair was flying, and he had these two eyeballs on his head. It went viral.
Wow.
And it was really such a pivotal point for me because of our U.S. manufacturing, we were able to meet the demand that the stadium requested, and it just, like, every order that came in every couple of days was a few thousand more pieces.
That's amazing.
At the time I had a warehouse in Northern Nevada, and my other product was made in Southern California. So I actually packed out all of the packaging materials up in my car, and I drove to Southern California, and I sat in the factory with the workers and taught them how to tag these headbands so that we could ship product, everything that came off that line that day, we could ship next day air to the stadium.
Wow.
And over the following 6 weeks from this happening, we shipped 30,000 headbands to the stadium, all made in USA. We never could have done that had we been producing overseas. We wouldn't have been able to meet that immediate demand. And it was an opportunity for me to prove what I knew that I could do, that I've been saying that I could do all along, was deliver on big runs on hot market stuff. And so it's just such an exciting moment for my contractors, for us, for the Phillies, for the fans to be able to get the product.
Did you get to meet him?
No, I've not met him.
Okay, hey, Bryce Harper, come on now, come on, dude.
Right,
right. That's amazing.
So it was really cool, and I just feel really lucky to have a product that the fans loved, that we created something that the fans really loved. And so we try to replicate that as much as possible. We do, creative fun things. So we sublimate everything, which means we can create a design on the computer. We print it with special ink and paper. It transfers onto the fabric. It's actually dyeing the fabric.
Oh, wow.
Just like you would if you were to get like a solid color like this is, dyed, but it's at a design level. So we can engineer sublimate essentially. And this will never wash out. There's no weird hand.
Does it like fade?
No, no, it doesn't. It's literally like it was dyed. So this is what allows us to be like super creative with all the baseball stuff. To come up with things that fans want to wear. So.
Do you think you'll venture off into maybe other sports as well?
I have, but we had a Major League Soccer license for a while. It was not quite as the right fit for us. We have considered NFL, and we're not quite big enough yet for NFL. So I am open to, especially NFL at a later point. But right now, we're actually pivoting back to apparel. So we've had all these accessories, and we've really been focused on Major League Baseball product and custom. So we'll make custom products. So if somebody wants to, have headbands for their little league team or a club, we can make those headbands for them. But the shift that we're making right now is into a new brand still under the Vertical Athletics umbrella, but it is called Temp Tac, which is temperature regulating tactical gear.
Oh, wow.
It is apparel, so think shirts, long sleeve shirts, short sleeve shirts, long sleeve hoodie shirts. Now these are all with this same lightweight sun protection fabric. So this fabric is a UPF 50, so it's going to block the sun, and it is patented cooling. So
and that goes for the hoodies as well?
Yeah, so it'll be a sun hoodie. And so it'll cool 30 degrees below skin temperature when it's wet.
That's amazing.
So the technology is really fantastic. It'll never wash out. It's not a chemical treatment. It legitimately works. We'll do a demo. And but with the apparel and the new brand of TempTac, the idea there is to make sure that the people who are powering our world, like our outdoor workers, our utility workers,
Yes.
our roofers, our construction, landscaping, all those people that are outside working their butts off every day in the elements, in the heat, is to help them feel better when they're on the job and to help them be safer
Yes.
and protect them against heat illness. So those shirts that we are about to launch are really, we're going to start with B2B and start
Okay.
working with companies
Yeah.
who do those things so that we can make custom branded corporate gear for them so that their workforce can have a professional branded shirt with their company name on it when
I
they're
like
outside
that.
on a job, and it's going to help those workers feel better.
Now, we have spoken a lot about how your business has evolved. And
Yeah.
I mean, from the very first time that I met you in that elevator in Vegas,
Yes.
a couple of years ago, I mean, so you have grown so much, you know. How are you balancing your mental health with your well-being, with being an entrepreneur? How do you balance all of that?
Lots of things. So, well, I would say there's two huge things that have helped me in the past 2 years. Is number one, I have an amazing fiance who is so supportive of me, and I'm just really grateful for that relationship. And he takes care of a lot of things for me so that I can stay focused on the business,
that's
which
nice.
is really, really lovely.
Yeah.
And my team. My team is, I've built a team in the last 2 years, and we're growing. My team is taking the things off my plate that are repetitive, that are really can be carved into their own position. And they're way better at systems than I am. I'm not great at creating a system.
Yeah.
I'm a squirrely entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I think, just having them in place is creating that security and safety for me mentally to be able to go out and have these new ideas of how are we pivoting the business, what's the next iteration
Yeah.
of this. And that is, I mean, without the systems in place, like I couldn't step out of those roles. So
Yes.
so emotionally and mentally, those have been two huge things for me. Of course, I work out, I eat properly, all of those are contributing to, just that overall well-being.
Yeah.
But, building that team has been really clutch for us.
And I think building a team, I've listened to a lot of podcasts on it, read a lot of books, building teams is a difficult thing to do. Finding the right people with the right mindset. But I'm also a firm believer that like-minded people attract like-minded people.
Yes.
Like we met your lovely Lauren today,
Yes.
right? I mean, I want to package her up and I want to take her home with me.
She's pretty great.
She is pretty darn great, So I can see when you talk about your team and how your team is, giving you the space to be able to go outside because they've taken care of process, You still haven't answered the question though, really.
Oh.
I mean,
right. Also deep dive, I've done a lot of healing. I had a lot of trauma coming out of the military, and I did your traditional PTSD therapy right after I got out of the military, but it really wasn't until I went through a really big transition in 2022. I left my first marriage, and I realized through hypnotherapy that I did not feel safe in my own body.
Yeah.
And it didn't have anything to do with the previous marriage. I don't want that. That was an amicable split, and just from past traumas.
Yeah.
And realized that there were a lot of things that I just had not addressed. And I had a good friend take me on a plant medicine journey.
Oh,
and
nice.
that was really transformational for me. And I've also done a lot of breath work, which is another healing modality.
yes, I've done that too.
Yes, so incredible. I think, I'm grateful. I've always been pretty open about speaking about these things because I think it's so critical that we heal ourselves.
Yeah.
We cannot show up as the best leader, as the best spouse, as the best parent if we are not healed ourselves. If we feel unsafe in our own body, we cannot show up fully. So I know how critical it is to do that healing work, and I really dove in headfirst when I needed to do that. And I think that is also what has allowed me to to be a better leader and
Yeah.
feel safer and just be more secure in the business moving forward. So
And be better for your people too.
absolutely,
You know?
Absolutely.
I want to come back and we want to record another episode because this is things that aren't spoken about along the entrepreneurial journey, traumas, things that we have to deal with just to be able to put one foot in front of the other. But before we wrap it up, I want you to let everybody know, what is your social media? Where can people buy your product and merchandise from?
Sure. So verticalathletics.com is going to give you your biggest variety. We have all of our Major League Baseball product on verticalathletics.com, as well as our fashion cooling headbands and the cooling scarves. We're going to be adding some new product in. And then there's also a custom link on the website. So if you want custom product, we do that for teams and clubs and organizations. We can make custom. We don't do one-off custom at this point, but our minimums are pretty low. We are made in USA, so that's the website's best place. If you are a sports fan, especially baseball, you can find our baseball product in Rally House stores across the country, Dick's Sporting Goods, and the majority of the Major League Baseball stadiums. You'll find our product in those stores.
Thanks for tuning in for this week's episode. Renee Krieg, thank you so much for being here. We've been at the Omni Hotel in the Presidential Suite. This is The Goode Show. I'm your host. My name's Surinder, and I'm out.
Thanks for tuning in to The Goode Show. I hope you have been inspired by today's conversation. If you loved what you heard, help us spread the word. Follow me on Instagram @The Goode Show. As military spouses, we all have stories to share, experiences, resources, and support. I want to hear your story and highlight your business. Let's connect, DM me, or visit surindergoode.com to share your journey. Until next time, take care, stay inspired, and keep doing good things.